your 20s are really a time in your life, and also in your 30s and 40s and teens as well. Just do what you like. Figure out who you are first, and don't have your personality depend on your partner. Like, figure out who you are, but also date, like get experience. I feel like dating is also great to learn more about yourself, more about what you're interested in, who you like, who you don't, what kind of traits do you like, being open-minded. And then if something doesn't work out, it's okay. There's plenty of fish in the sea, or plenty of people in the world.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Asian Dating Podcast. I'm your host, May Bugenhagen, and today I have a guest who will be letting me grill her with some fun questions about dating. Grace is 26. She is a founder, UX designer, illustrator, and content creator, born and raised in Silicon Valley, California, with immigrant parents from Singapore and Taiwan. She runs a 60,000 plus member community called Design Buddies, helping designers across the world land jobs. She's a UX designer at a large tech company and also creates content about design, career, lifestyle, and travel. Growing up, her parents told her no dating until after PhD. Recently, she was also featured on the Wall Street Journal for using Hinge for networking. Welcome to the show, Grace Ling. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on. Super excited for our conversation today.
I know we've been talking a little bit off camera. And Grace, I just love your energy for being 26 and so successful and extroverted and fun. And I think, audience, you guys are going to have a great time today because Grace is not afraid to be put on the hot seat as I ask her about dating questions. And of course, I also want to talk to her about her life with some of her accomplishments and things like that. But Grace, when you first started dating, how did you go about finding a potential partner? I know you said that you must have dated like 30 people from the apps and stuff like that. Tell me a little bit about your dating adventures.
Yeah, for sure. So most of my dating adventures, I've met them through dating apps. And dating meaning like kind of first or second dates with probably like 30 plus different people across the span of, I would say, 8 months, which I remember the first time I was using dating apps, I was doing like 4 dates a week. And I've learned a lot. So I guess kind of a brief history about my experience with apps was I got my first relationship when I was 22. I didn't know what I was doing. I never because growing up, my parents were like, gotta study, career first, hustle, don't talk to guys, don't think about guys, gotta focus grades, straight A's or you're not successful kind of thing. And so, yeah, I actually believed that for the longest time. And that's why I'm like really focused on my career now, but I'm also wanting to look for someone that I can learn from, grow from, and just have fun together with. But I started dating when I was 22. I was an engineering student. I studied bio and computer engineering, and I was pivoting my career over from engineering to UX design. This was the end of 2019 when I graduated from college. And I was doing some internship interviews as a UX designer. One thing they do is send you like a design challenge. And one company told me to design a mentor-mentee matching app. So I was like, matching. So I looked at some different apps for competitive analysis. And I was like, so what do college students use to match? So I was like, okay, matching. I downloaded Tinder, Bumble, and Facebook dating. I was kind of using it for fun. I met a lot of trolls and interesting people from that. And I ended up meeting my ex from Facebook dating. Also, I was on Tinder and I actually got banned from Tinder. And how I got banned was, I think I looked like I was a minor. I was just using my photos, but I think someone thought I was a minor or something. So yeah, I was also banned from Tinder. So I used Facebook dating, and I got into dates with probably I would say 10 different guys before meeting my ex. And it was interesting because I was also really active in this Facebook group called Subtle Agents Bay Area. And I think Facebook dating, the algorithm kind of matches you with people in similar groups. So I would actually meet these people on Facebook dating and meet these people in real life in the social setting. So that was kind of interesting. But I met my ex. He actually he still works at Facebook, and on Facebook dating, he was quote unquote testing the product. And I remember the first time I met him was I was also like doing anime conventions, tabling at craft fairs at that time. And I was like, hey, come check out my booth, just like self-promotion, like business automatically. So he came by all the way from Redwood City to San Jose. It was kind of far. It was like a 30-minute drive just to like visit my booth. I was like, all right. I didn't know what I was doing. And then we had a great like short 10-minute chat, got boba a few days later. And then I think we got in a first relationship just within 3 dates. Looking back, that was like way too rushed. I mean, I was 22. He was 25, his first time dating, but ended up having a nice time. Learned a lot from him. And I actually broke up with him 8 months later because I was growing my business design buddies and I was like hustling. But 3 years later, I'm back kind of just like, I feel like my career has grown a lot. I'm in a really stable place. I have much more self-confidence. I'm ready to kind of like take on someone else and just kind of seeing how we can grow together.
So looking back, do you think 22 was too young to date, or do you think a lot of your friends probably dated when they were like 16 or 18?
Yeah, I have a lot of friends who dated when they're probably like 13, 16, 18. But I'm so glad. I don't think 22 is too young. I'm really glad I had that experience because I learned by making mistakes. I learned from everything. So I'm just like glad I was able to make those mistakes kind of relatively early on.
So you're 26, you are 5'5". What is your ideal guy? What are you looking for?
Yeah, I'm looking for someone who can match my energy level and I can also learn from, grow from, and I can also help someone that kind of similar to me, like in terms of lifestyle. Like I love traveling, I love going to events, hosting meetups, being really active, public speaking, and someone I just like collaborate with and maybe creative, have their own passions too, and just someone that can co-create and build a cool life together.
So you're pretty outgoing, an extrovert. What if the guy was a little bit on the shyer end, or maybe he doesn't have a lot of dating experience, or he's more serious, like book smart, but not outgoing, life of the party? Would you mix well with someone like that?
Yeah, I would just want to take time to get to know him more. Ultimately, I care about like personality. I want someone I can trust and someone that can also trust me as well. I don't feel like I don't feel like I also have a lot of friends who are more introverted and maybe they would be someone to like balance me out with because someone to just go out all the time and like could burn out and stuff too. So yeah, I'll be down. But I also like to, I guess like these days I've actually been using Hinge for 8 months, no, 10 months now. And probably went on like 30 different dates and also going to a lot of events and just meeting people and seeing how that goes.
Tell me about your experience with using Hinge as a networking piece and how you got recognized for that.
Yeah, so I started using Hinge February 2023. And my friend, she recommended it to me. She was like talking about her experiences using it. And I was like, oh, this is interesting. I remember using these apps. I don't know if I'm ready, so I just made a profile and I remember I got like a lot of likes the first day. It was interesting. I actually never like liked anyone. I feel like my standards are just like way too high on that app. But I have met a lot of like friends from the app. Like everyone that I went on dates with, I ended up just like connecting on social media, and just staying friends with and seeing them at tech events. So I never except one person. Oh yeah, he showed me his knives as a hobby, like a first day. So yeah, that was the only awkward experience I had from it. But I've gotten like consulting gigs, art commissions, career coaching gigs. I met other founders, kind of just like talk shop about what we're building. And so I've also, oh, I forgot to mention when I was using like back in 2019 when I was using those apps, I actually got some referrals to tech companies, like job referrals. And with all the layoffs going on this year, I met some people on Hinge who were also laid off, and I want to give back, so I just helped them give referrals to my company too. And I feel like my takeaway from using dating apps is just kind of being open-minded to different types of connections because they're really great ways to just meet cool people. I've met a lot of great friends I now include in like my friend circles, and we're really clear it's not romantic, just friends, and friends can be opposite genders as well. And just kind of being open-minded because I feel like just my observations is using dating apps is kind of weird, because you're like expecting something romantic upon first meeting. And for me at least, and maybe people can also, maybe at least maybe other people also feel the same way. I'd rather get to know that person more, get to know that person's social settings, and really just kind of be friends before making any romantic connections with. So I don't know, it's like just like personal preference. I don't know if everyone else feels the same way, but just being open to different types of connections on these dating apps has brought value into my life, not just from like friendship point, but from a business point as well.
Would you say that you're more open-minded than your average friend? Like, are you pretty open on these dating apps and meeting whoever you think, oh, this person looks cool, or oh, they have a cool job, or oh, they're cute, or oh, they're near me, I'll go meet them. Do you feel like you're more open-minded than your friends are on the dating app?
I feel like for me, I guess I'm not really sure. I'm generally pretty open-minded if that person has something interesting in their profile, regardless of what they look like, regardless of like what they do for work. If they have like some random hobby I can relate with, then I would definitely meet up with them and just seeing what happens, like either we're friends or staying romantically connected, or yeah, and just kind of seeing what goes from there too. So I just like meeting cool people, whether it's like romantic or not.
You are like a matchmaker's dream having somebody, a client like that who is open minded, because I feel like as we get older, some of the clients get more picky and just are closed minded. Maybe they got burned, maybe they're, had some bad experiences and they just want to focus on a certain thing now going forward. So it's great that you keep an open mind when you do the dating apps, because you're right. There are so many people on these dating apps that you can't tell if you like them or not with the 2D photo and description of them. Like, you want to get their energy, right? You want to see if they smile, how they interact with the wait staff, how they are waiting in line, or if they're patient or not patient, or do they make eye contact with you? Like, all those things matter in dating. So I'm so glad, Grace, that you are open minded and you'll just, go out and meet somebody and not pretend you're showing up on the date in your wedding dress, right? Like, you're just going to the date to see if you click with this person and see if you can learn a couple things about this person and that if you would like them or not. So that's great. That's great. Now, how did you get into using the dating apps and why did you pick Hinge over the other ones?
Yeah, I've got into Hinge because my friend recommended it, and I've also looking at other apps. I was just looking at mostly like the top charts, like which ones have the most. Because I only want to do one,
Okay.
and Hinge looked quite up there. And they call their marketing. I'm not sponsored by Hinge, but it's called Designed to be Deleted. So I thought that was interesting, and I really liked how they can have prompts, and you have to respond. You have to like have a message when you match with someone, and so I like that because then on Tinder you just like kind of swipe, and it's like you don't really like Hinge
Interact.
provides a conversation starter.
Yeah.
And I feel like, yeah, that is why I used Hinge. And I feel like just it had a lot of users, and it was like matching with intention. And I think there's a limited number of likes you can send a day and like one rose per week. I've actually never like liked anyone on that app. I've only looked at who liked me, so I actually never used it. I'm like too scared sometimes. So,
Well, that's good. I mean, the people who like you are the ones that show interest in you. So if you show interest in them also, that's already a winning combination, right? I think online dating is great where you put your profile out there and you see what type of people are attracted to your profile, your photos, and that's a good head start. Like, okay, if you don't like any of the men that contact you, then you could be like, okay, I need to change something about my profile, the way I look, the way I act in my profile, the way I represent myself. Like, you got to make some changes to see what kind of guys you're attracting, right?
Yeah, also like A/B testing it, and I've actually I've changed out my profile picture sometimes, changed out my prompt sometimes, just to see what kind of matches I get, and it's been interesting. So don't be afraid to like change and like test things out in your apps to see what kind of people you attract as well.
So you mentioned before that you have a horror story of your parents finding out about your first relationship and being
Yes.
introduced to your ex's parents 2 months into dating. You mentioned this off recording, but tell me a little bit about that horror story and what you've learned from it.
Yeah, so this is my ex. This is back in 2020. yeah, my first relationship, me and my ex were really excited. First time, just kind of learning about it. We actually never held hands. We thought that was too awkward. We were like, but he introduced me to his parents within 2 months of dating. We hadn't gone relationship at like in January. We started, I think our first time meeting was like December 2019, and then winter break, went on 3 dates, and then got in a relationship January 2020. I was a master's student. He was an engineer at Facebook, engineer or a large tech company. And yeah, I feel like his parents might have been, he's like an only child, and his parents might have been really strict on him growing up as well. So he was probably really excited. So he, we went on like a day trip on his birthday in February, and then it was really fun. And at the end of it, I went to like a dinner with his parents. And I was like super nervous. I remember I was just like, I didn't tell any of my parents this. I was like Googling what to do when you meet your partner's parents the first time. I was like, bring gifts. Like, all right. So I asked his parents, like, what do they like to do? What are their favorite colors? And like, I brought them some gifts. They also brought me some gifts as well. And so I was just like, yeah, they mostly spoke Mandarin. So my Mandarin's okay. I can converse with them just to, I guess, like try to impress them. So I was like practicing some Mandarin, just trying to impress them and stuff. It was great. They liked me a lot. And then on Valentine's Day, I think it was like a week later. So he brought me a whole jar of roses, like really big. Um, and I was like, all right. So I took them home and I was like, my parents, today's February 14th. My parents are here. I live at home, and they're like, all right, well, what am I gonna do? They're gonna like make that connection. So I was like, put it here. I was like, put it there. And then my mom was like, so Grace, tell us. And I was just like hiding in my room, like hiding under my table, like kissing my friends frantically. Oh my God, my parents found out. What am I gonna do? Um, and I was like hiding there for an hour, just like I'm not here, not happening. Um, and I kind of came out, and they were like, my parents were like, so who is this person? Is he Christian? What does his parents do? Where did he go to school? Where does he work? Just grilling me about questions with him. So I answered it. He ended up going to like a really prestigious university, prestigious job. So my parents were like, ooh, let's meet him. Uh, so we ended up having dinner like soon after. And then my mom stayed connected with him. And my parents like added him on, I think my parents like added him on LinkedIn and stuff. And like my parents, like my mom stayed connected with him, and they were like both into cooking. So they shared sourdough recipes and starters during the pandemic and stuff. So it's kind of interesting like that. And then yeah, we broke up, and 8 months later, because I was just like too busy trying to like hustle and stuff. But yeah, that was like kind of my first experience. I was like really scared at the first. I did a lot of research, Googling what to do. And then my parents, at first I thought they were gonna react really, really weirdly, but it ended up really going pretty well. But I never updated my parents, so they later found out. They're like, where's that person? And I was like, oh yeah, we ended things like 2 years ago.
Wait, they didn't know that you broke up after 8 months? Like they thought you were
No, I didn't
dating?
tell them anything. I usually don't tell my parents stuff
Oh,
because
funny.
I feel like they're gonna grow me with stuff.
So, do you feel like that's kind of a cultural thing with Asian parents? Because my parents didn't really know who I was dating, if I was dating. Like you, they wanted me to go to school, get good grades, get a good job, buy a house, have a good living. And then all of a sudden they're like, okay, where are my grandkids? And I'm
Same with
like,
my
wait,
parents.
you didn't even tell me that it's okay to date. I didn't even really start or have a date conversation with my parents. So I guess that's kind of like in Asian parents, right? Like the culture is just, okay, we know you're gonna date eventually, but we don't need to tell you when you should start dating or when you should start wearing makeup. Like it just actually just happened, and then they just accepted it. So was that kind of like how your parents were having the date conversation with you?
Yeah, exactly. That's why I feel like it's so important to have great friends, both male and female, to talk about these things with. Because I've learned so much about dating from my friends who are married, single, both genders.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I feel like I never really got that from my parents. I also live at home in the Bay Area. Rent's expensive here.
Yeah.
Um, I like to save money, so I live at home.
Right.
And yeah, like kind of being around them, it's kind of interesting. Like they're like, observing, and I'm just like, yeah, I'm just living life. But I'm like grateful. Like I feel like my parents are overall great people. They leave me alone. They're like, as long as I'm making lots of money, they're okay with it. So they're okay with it.
But that's in our Asian culture too, is you don't really move out of the house until you get married. So it's very common to date another Asian person and they also live at home. So I don't think it's that big of a deal if you're going to stick to the Asian men, but I feel like the Caucasian men might not be as into that as we hope. Like, have you dated any Caucasian men in your 30 dates with those
I have.
apps?
I actually have went on dates with, but because in the Bay Area, they also live at home. They're on the same age. And they
Oh,
like to save money as well. They also work in tech, but they also live at home for logistical reasons.
okay. So, what about during the pandemic? Were you dating during the pandemic? Did you do Zoom calls? Like, what did you do with that?
I actually did not. I was focused on building my business and kind of climbing the career ladder. I was really focused on myself because after I broke up with my ex, around like October 2020, I was like, all right, Grace, I think my priorities are in my business right now. I need to also find out who am I? Like, what do I want? And like just kind of taking a break from it, I'll just kind of build myself up to really figure out what am I looking for. Like I don't want to waste people's time. I don't want to waste my time. And I feel like that's really important. Like after, especially after a breakup, just kind of analyzing what am I trying to do here? Like what am I looking for? How do I add value? How do I get what value am I looking for to add in my life? So I feel like that was valuable for me. And 23 years later, I worked really hard, got myself in a really great spot, and now I'm just ready to I kind of know where I want. I'm still really open-minded and learning, but have some sense of direction and what I'm looking for, and kind of like a partnership or just like someone I can just learn and grow from too.
So, after you broke up in October 2022, what steps or what did you do to kind of figure out who you were and what you're about?
Yeah, I just kind of tapped into anything I'm interested in. Like that time and still now, I really love like content creation, meeting just growing in my design career, getting better at UX design. I love traveling. So I go to like 20 countries a year for fun. So just traveling, seeing the world, talking to different people across different cultures, trying new things, creating content, going to events, meeting cool people, hosting events, and just kind of doing everything that curiouses me, that I'm interested in, and seeing how it goes, how I feel about it. And then just kind of defining what gives me energy, what does not give me energy, and what do I want to do with it. Just kind of trying things out and seeing what sticks.
So, do you want kids later?
I feel like they'll be interesting right now. I feel like I'm still a kid. I'm terrified of children. And I feel like the reason why I want kids is interesting. My parents call me their investment. Um, so I don't know. I feel like it would be fun to have like friends, like someone to like kind of just like vibe with and just like have fun with. But at the same time, it's a lot of responsibility. I feel like I really want to enjoy the freedom right now of like not having responsibilities. But first, I need to find a partner. So
Right. Right.
one step at a time.
So, being 26, where do you see yourself? When would you like to get married if you can control that?
Yeah, I would say probably before like 35.
Okay.
Um, and not I don't want kids when I'm like too old because I know like good complications and stuff. But yeah, right now, at least in the next like 5 years, I see myself just in the world and just kind of being free and just kind of doing whatever I want. And then maybe I want kids, maybe I don't, but just being really open-minded to either way.
Yeah. Yeah. That's very, very good. So, what was the most unusual experience you had on a Hinge date or on the app?
Yeah, being like for me, I like to be open-minded to different people, which gets me exposed to very different people. The most awkward experience I had was I was mini golfing with someone, and also for dating, I personally like choosing activities that you would also enjoy by yourself. So that, and then for me, I love like trying new things. Like I went mini golfing with someone, and we ended up like it was pretty well, and it went pretty well. The mini golfing, we went for lunch afterwards. We went for a short walk, and then kind of in the conversation for like 2 hours, just hanging out, just as really casual. He was like, if we just talking about hobbies, he was like, oh yeah, one of my hobbies is collecting knives. So she pulled out a knife. I was like, yeah, I collect knives. I was like, oh no. So I was like, I don't want to upset him. Like, what if like, yeah, I was just like kind of concerned. Like for me, I'm personally like, I just like don't like it when people have like weapons and stuff. I just feel unsafe because like I know like emotions, what if I accidentally upset them? Would they use them on me? And I just like kind of feel like threatened in that way. And so I just kind of ghosted him after. No, I didn't ghost him. I try not to ghost people. Like if I'm not feeling a romantic connection, I would tell them right away because I don't want to waste their time. I don't want to lead them on. So definitely recommend never ghosting. So I did that, and so yeah, I think we're still connected on Facebook or something. But yeah,
Do you tell him at the end of the date, or do you wait for him to ask you again before you tell him you're not interested anymore?
I usually text the day of or the morning after.
So what do you
Like,
say
hey,
if you're no longer interested?
yeah, I say that like, hey, it was really great hanging out with you and chatting about X, chatting about blah blah blah. I was wondering, would you be open to staying connected as friends?
Okay. So that's how you let them know that there's no romantic interest.
Yeah,
And what do they usually
so.
say? Yes, I would like to, or no.
Usually if they're interested, they're like, do you want to hang out more? Um, and then usually they're respectful of that as
Yeah.
well.
Okay. So what are some dating tips you can give to the 20 something out there in the Bay Area or just in general?
Yeah, I just feel like dating doesn't always have to come from apps. I know I mentioned apps a lot. It could be meeting mutual friends, maybe having friends. Like I had friends introduce me to like potential partners as well. So being open to that, just being open-minded, like, but also knowing who you are. Your 20s are a really time in your life, and also in your 30s and 40s and teens as well. Like just do what you like, figure out who you are first, and don't like have your personality depend on your partner. Like figure out who you are, but also date, like get experience. I feel like dating is also great to learn more about yourself, more about what you're interested in, who you like, who you don't, what kind of traits do you like or want, and don't want, and just being open-minded, but also figure out who you are, being open-minded, and not limit yourself to just dating apps, but just going to events. I find a lot of value in being active in online communities of different interest groups who host in-person meetups to like have something in common to meet people at as well, based on your own interests and meeting people that way and just having fun along the way. And then if something doesn't work out, it's okay. There's plenty of fish in the sea or plenty of people in the world. And always just kind of like reflect on like what went well, what didn't go well, how to improve, and just keep moving forward. Every day is an adventure, and you just need that one person. And there's going to be so many people who like probably don't work out, and that's okay. It's nothing on you, nothing on them. It's just not a fit. And don't be hard on yourself for don't be hard on yourself if something doesn't work out.
Yeah, yeah. I love working with 20 somethings, 30 somethings women. So, women who are out there and single want to be part of my database. And same thing with you, Grace. I would love for you to fill out a profile with me so I can then have your information and find you if there's a great guy. Like, I feel like I really got to know you now in this podcast. So, that's great. And for men out there who are interested in dating Grace, contact me and I can maybe hook you up. So you never know. I mean, you're right. People are meeting all over the place. And it's great that you find out what kind of interests that you like. So then you can go ahead and pursue those interests. And if you happen to meet somebody there, then that's great. You already, have something in common. So that's a great idea is you don't just find potential partners on apps, though apps are a very, very big part of where all the single people are, right? So, but yeah, just find a activity that you like to do and pursue it and go do it, or go with a friend or go by yourself. If you go by yourself, you are actually forced to speak to strangers and talk to people. And it doesn't matter if he or she is not a potential romantic partner. It's great that you just get out there and talk about things and do things. So I like that. I really do. So, well, Grace, any parting last dating tips for people, or, just like one nugget, something that you've learned in the past, 30 dates that you've been on that you're like, wow, I could really use this or share this with somebody?
Yeah, enjoy the process. And I guess for dating apps, I feel my experience has been people expect a romantic connection out of it, but just being open-minded to like friend connections, Mrs. connections, and then also being very clear about your intentions of what you're looking for, and being clear with like how you feel about that person as well, and just enjoying the process and having fun and don't not being too hard on the workout.
Grace, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it, sharing about your Hinge stories and what you can do to make dating apps work for you. And I will put all of your info in the show notes in case somebody wants to contact you. And like I said before, I am the founder of Two Asian Matchmakers. My company started in Los Angeles. Now it is nationwide. I'm always down for helping men who want to find Asian women, either in Asia or all across the US. So give me a ring. You can call me, you can text me, you can email me, or find me on Two Asian Matchmakers. So thank you very much, Grace. And have a great day, everybody. Bye.
Thanks for having me on. This was fun.
You're very welcome. Okay, bye, Grace.
Bye.